I think people misunderstand something about modern dating. Whenever the conversation comes up about why men don't approach women as much anymore, the default explanation is always the same. People say men are insecure now, or that social media ruined confidence, or that guys are just scared of rejection. And yeah, rejection sucks. Nobody enjoys that. A lot of what I just said is true. But I think the real reason is deeper than that. A lot of men aren't scared, they're tired. And that's a completely different problem because when you're younger, you actually have a lot of energy for this whole process. You're excited about meeting people, you're curious, you're very optimistic. Every new interaction feels like it could lead somewhere interesting. You walk up to girls, you're starting conversations, you flirt a little, you get rejected sometimes, but you brush it off because you're still figuring everything out, like in your middle school, high school years. But after a few years of doing that, you start noticing patterns, and especially leading on to college and onward, when things could get more serious, you just notice how many conversations go nowhere when you're actually looking for something serious. How many times someone seems interested for a moment and then disappears. How many times you invest time and attention into getting to know someone and it turns out they were never actually serious about dating in the first place. And eventually a thought starts creeping in your head every time you're about to approach someone. Man, do I really want to do this again? Like you get that feeling. Not because, we hate women, not because we're bitter about, past relationships or situations that didn't work out, but because the process could just feel like a loop, a never ending loop. You try, you get a little bit of momentum, something weird happens, and you're back at square one. And then the other thing that people don't talk about is that men and women approach dating very differently. Women often want things to develop slowly. They want to talk, get comfortable, build some trust, and see how things evolve over time, which is completely understandable. It's very valid. But men tend to operate differently. When a guy meets a girl he likes, he usually knows pretty quickly. I mean, if we have any women watching here, we know right away if we like you or not. First few minutes of conversation, it's like instant. Okay, something about her just clicks in his brain, and his mind starts jumping forward immediately. We start thinking, can this actually go somewhere? Can we be compatible long term? Can this turn into something serious? Like that is how fast we were thinking. We jumped the gun right away. And men tend to think in bigger leaps. We see potential and we want to explore it right away. But that difference in pacing creates a lot of friction. Because when a man expresses serious intentions early, sometimes, not sometimes, many times, it gets interpreted the wrong way. Girls will say that they want honesty. They'll say they want a man who knows what he wants. But the second you actually say what you want, the energy sometimes shifts. You might say something simple like, I'm not really interested in casual dating. I'm dating with the intention of finding someone I could eventually marry. Not tomorrow, not next month, just that's the direction that we're moving in. Because we want something real. We want a partner. We want someone to build our life with. Someone that you take care of and they take care of you. Someone who values loyalty, effort, and long term commitment. And suddenly you're looked at like you just said something insane. And I deal with this shit all the time. Meanwhile, the same person might also say that they're tired of meaningless dating, they want something real, they want a man who takes relationships seriously. So sometimes I'm just sitting there thinking like wait a second, you want honesty, but only certain types of honesty? You want commitment, but only after months of pretending we're just casually floating through life? Like it's so confusing. Like woman just confused me, bro. And I'll be honest about something else too. Maybe I'm not the perfect example of how to approach dating because I tend to move through life pretty intensely. If I like someone, I'm not interested in playing 10 layers of social chess just to figure out basic compatibility. I would rather know very early on if we're aligned. And maybe that's a flaw in me. Maybe I lead with serious conversations too quickly. I've been told that actually by a lot of women. But you have to understand the way that I look at things. I'm 23 years old. I run a multi-million dollar company. There are employees depending on decisions that I make every single day. There are responsibilities that most people my age aren't dealing with yet. And when your life starts operating at that high level, your relationship with time changes. I start valuing it differently. You don't want to waste months pretending something might work when deep down you already know that the values don't align. So yeah, sometimes, no, I'm not even going to say sometimes, because up until this point, it's been straight L after L. I'm going to say all the time, I ask bigger questions earlier than most people would. And it's not because I'm trying to interrogate someone. I mean, these girls that I was talking to over the weekend, like they said I just lead with too big stuff. But all I'm trying to do is understand if we're actually compatible. Like, if I'm dating someone, I want to know how they see life. Do they believe in building a family? Do they believe in partnership? Do they believe in contributing to a household together? And yeah, like sometimes that includes things that people don't like hearing out loud anymore. Like saying, I want a woman who knows how to cook or keep a home together. Because I lead with that shit sometimes. And it's not because I expect the woman to be like a servant or something ridiculous like that, but because I believe in traditional partnership in certain ways. I want to provide, I want to take care of the person that I'm with, but that also means I want someone who takes pride in building a life together. And when you say that honestly, sometimes people react like you just insulted them. Like they ask you to be honest, and then they're insulted by you being actually really honest. But here's the funny part: if I actually wanted to play the game the easy way, I could. I could walk into conversations leading with things that sound impressive. Yeah, I run a really successful multi-million dollar company. Things are going really well. I've got a lot going on. But I just hate doing that. And part of the reason is also because I'm pretty private. Like this group of girls, some of them know me, but they don't really know too much about me. So they're asking me all these questions, and I try to live a pretty private life. Obviously, with this channel, it's more like a diary in a sense, where I'm holding very open, honest conversations with you guys. But to like close friends and stuff, especially girls, like to the boys, I'll tell them whatever they want to know. But to the girls, I usually just keep to myself. Um, but I just hate doing that. I hate leading with the, oh yeah, I got a lot of things running for me. Because the moment that like money enters the conversation, everything gets weird. Now you're wondering if someone likes you or if they like the lifestyle that they think that you might be able to provide. And that's just like a terrible position for me to be in. Obviously, being a multimillionaire at 23 is great, but from a dating perspective, it's like I try to be selective, and it just makes you overthink a lot. Okay, that's all I can put it in my situation. All I could talk about is my situation. You're on my channel, right? But the last thing I want is someone who's interested in me because of money. I want someone who likes me for being the weird, intense, slightly chaotic person that I actually am. Someone who matches my energy, my freak, my humor, my ambition. Somebody who will look at me and think, like, yeah, this guy's a little crazy, but I like the way he thinks. And someone who allows me to lead. That's the person I'm looking for. Not someone impressed by my numbers or what I do. And that's usually what girls are leading with. They're instantly trying to gauge, like, hey, how much do we respect this guy? And if you guys watch one of my other videos, I talked about how I easily clicked with this girl that I thought was very cute, but her friend, who I didn't find romantically attractive at all. And she was just interrogating me. She was trying to know how much respect to give me, and I basically didn't tell her anything. So she was just treating me not like with disrespect, but not in the same way she would if I told her what I'm actually all about. That's also part of the reason why I'm private with everything, is because if I tell you everything, I don't want you to be like, okay, this guy's like really successful, I should be nice to him. Like, no, you should be nice to me because I'm a normal human being just like you are, if that makes sense. But again, I don't want someone who's impressed by my numbers or my successful business. And the irony is that when you try to keep things real like that, dating actually becomes harder, because modern dating encourages this like slow, cautious, carefully curated process. Step 1, keep everything casual. Step 2, act like you're not thinking too far ahead. Step 3, reveal things slowly over time. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't have time for this shit, okay? Maybe that works for a lot of people, but I'm not most people. For guys who think in long-term minds, it could feel like pretending. It's like, what are we doing here? Because to me, that's just wasting time. You're playing a game where you're not allowed to say the real objective. Like, what kind of a game is that? And after enough cycles of that, a lot of men just start approaching less. I'm at the point right now where you try, it never goes anywhere. So you're like, fuck this. I'm just going to stay single and focus on me. And that's kind of the mentality I've adopted for the last few years. And I mean, as far as business growth, it's been insane. I no longer give women the attention that I once did, and my business skyrocketed because I'm not distracted. I'm very focused. I don't have a woman that I'm talking to. It's just me, myself, and I, baby. So, from a business, like the way I look at life too is I don't lose. It's either a win or a lesson. If it doesn't work out with a girl, it's a lesson. Otherwise, I win. And I think that mentality is what puts me so far ahead of my peers. But that's a different conversation. Ultimately, what I want to get at is after enough cycles of this bullshit, is what I'm going to put it as, men just start approaching less. They stop caring. Not because they forgot how to talk to women. Sometimes, if they're really pretty, they intimidate you a little bit. I mean, that's even happened to me, and I'm sure a lot of guys could relate to that. But, we're just tired of navigating a system that feels unnecessarily complicated, especially now. We've had enough experiences where someone enjoys the attention, but they never actually intended to build anything real. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, do you just want the attention? What is this, for fun? Like, what are we doing here? Enough experiences where someone says that they want something serious, but for their actions to say the opposite. Enough experiences where you're sitting there thinking, why am I investing all of this energy into something that might not even be genuine? Because you asked me to be honest, but then you don't like the honesty. And look, women deal with frustrations in dating too. I'm not pretending that they don't. This is a problem from both sides. Don't take this as a video that I'm like, attacking women or anything like that. Like, men and women, we are both the problem in different ways. And I'm just speaking from my personal experience. But the idea that men simply stopped approaching because they're weak or scared, or it's just a lazy explanation. A lot of men still want relationships. We have an epidemic of loneliness. People want attention. We want connection. We're human beings at the end of the day. We still want someone that you could build something meaningful with, but men are also becoming more selective about where they invest their time and energy, especially as they get older. Because time is the one thing that you can never get back. So yeah, like when a guy sees a girl he finds attractive, the thought might still cross his mind, oh, she seems interesting. But sometimes another thought follows right behind it, is this actually worth the effort? And that didn't happen in the past. So that question is becoming more common, not because men don't care anymore, but because after running the same loop enough times, people start protecting their energy and they start protecting their peace. And honestly, I think a lot of people, men and women, are just waiting to meet someone who finally makes the process feel simple again. Someone where the conversation flows, where the intentions are clear. You're not guessing every step of the way. There's no, formula for works. It's just natural. It just clicks, the relationship just clicks, where you don't have to pretend to be less serious than you actually are. Because when you find that right person, suddenly the whole process stops feeling exhausting and it starts feeling exciting again. And in my life, I am waiting to find the one where she makes my life exciting again. So boys, hopefully you learned something. Women, if you're watching, if we got like 3% women in here watching the video, hopefully you took something away. Again, another very honest, raw conversation here today. It's a very important topic. I've made a few videos about this epidemic of loneliness and all of that. I might make the title something like "Why Men Are Scared to Talk to Women Now" or something like that. But it's guys are just tired. They're tired of it never going anywhere. And it goes great for a lot of people, but for the same number of people that are in happy relationships, there's an equal number of people who don't have anything but would like to have something. And now I'm only 23, so I'm talking about the scene here. I got a lot of friends that are 24, 25 years old. They're already, in getting into relationships, 1, 2, 3 years, everything like that. And usually that's about the time where conversations start becoming a little bit more serious about like marriage and kids and stuff like that. And obviously, if you're meeting a girl 2 minutes in, you don't want to ask her about like kids or anything like that. But ultimately, when a guy is serious and when he knows what he wants, girls shouldn't be faulting him for speaking honestly. It's like, if you want me to be honest, let me be honest. And if you're going to find what I say insulting, then it's like, it's just never going to lead anywhere. So I think it is that repetitive loop of men just anticipating that, oh, this is going to be the same exact thing as it was last time. That's part of the reason we're just tired. We're tired from it. It's maybe the phones play a part, maybe social media. People say that social media ruined romance and love. I'm not really sure. I'm just yapping in this video. I don't really know anything. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying the content, I have a lot of different videos about all sorts of stuff, how the modern world works, dating, psychology, a lot of money finance videos, just like actually relevant shit that people could connect with. And I hope you guys connect with the videos that I'm making and that you guys are enjoying the content, because I've put quite a lot of effort into producing what I think are banger videos. But yeah, subscribe if you're enjoying the content. I really appreciate all the support from everybody, and we will catch you here on the next one.